just the beginning. 2 spacewalks are done, and the Discovery astronauts are rolling right along. NASA's Alan Guttell says so far the mission is shaping up well for them, if not better. They've already attached the permanent multi-purpose module to the station, and they're going to take that extra day that they added on to basically help outfit the floating closet for the space station, this PMM. So, they sitting out ahead of time, they get that extra time on the schedule, get one more extra day in space. The shuttle is targeted to land at around 11:26 Eastern Time Tuesday morning, weather permitting. It will conclude the 39th and final scheduled mission for Discovery. The Obama administration is adding a dose of reality about the difficulties establishing Libya no-fly zone would pose. Officials say that would require a military attack on Muammar Gaddafi's regime to destroy air defenses. The Pentagon makes it clear it does not want war, but military brass say it could be done if ordered. Meanwhile, the fighting continues in parts of Libya as forces now dictator Muammar Gaddafi trying to retake overwhelmed areas. Witnesses say Libyan airplanes struck the eastern oil port of Brega today, a day after armed forces failed an attempt by terrorists to retake control of the strategic installation. 540 WFLA News Time now, 7:02. I'm Darrell Moody. Get these stories and more at 540WFLA.com. Sports is coming up. Volkswagen will be right traffic center. I-4 still looking very good in both directions. That looks like a down right now. Also, OBT and John Deere Carfrey running up to speed. And no delays so far on the 408 or 417. Just watch out for some very slow traffic on Colonial Drive. That's eastbound between US 27 and the Turnpike, no accidents to report. Just watch for some delays there. To be sharp science, give it to Planet Colony at 666-676-8477. From the traffic center, I'm Monica Peters. Insurance dispute? Visit ForThePeople.com. Morgan & Morgan. For the people. 540 WFLA, Orlando's 24-hour weather channel. The large brush fire near the Volusia-Brevard County line remains our big story here, which continues to produce thick smoke, and the winds are now turning around from the north, dragging that smoke further south. We'll stay dry for the rest of today and tonight. Weather is updated around the clock on 540 WFLA. I'm sure to check around from the Weather Channel. Against the Magic, a team that gets no respect for star player Dwight Howard. Howard and the Magic are trying to change that perception tonight when they visit the Heat in Miami. Tip-off is set for 8 o'clock. FSU almost pulled off the upset last night against 13th ranked North Carolina. Gene Deckerhoff from the Seminole Sports Network, and that's how we win. The Tar Heels winning by 2. Isaac Sosa scored 17 points as UCF rallied from 10 points down to beat SMU 51-48 tonight, and now on 5 of their last 6. The clock is ticking on a midnight deadline tonight when the current collective bargaining agreement expires between the NFL and its players' union, putting the 2011 season in jeopardy. Both sides are scheduled to resume talks this morning on the 10th day of negotiations before the federal mediator, with no reports of significant progress. That's your sports update. I'm Tom Morgan. On your home for Florida Vanderbilt Saturday at 5:25, 540 WFLA.
Courtroom version of High Noon Showdown here in the Florida State Supreme Court. This lawsuit brought by a couple of state legislators, one of them a Republican, against Governor Rick Scott, trying to force him to take the Obama stimulus money for high-speed rail. What's been going on? I have been following this. It comes to a head today at 3 o'clock in Tallahassee in the Florida State Supreme Court chambers, where the High Court will hear arguments. This is being fast-tracked because, as you know, the Obama administration and Transportation Secretary Ray LaHood are dangling that $2.4 billion in quote-unquote free money. Never mind that it's money that the government really doesn't have. Obamulus money, Obama stimulus money, and saying, you know, I keep giving you these extensions. Bill Nelson wants an extension. We gave him an extension. We're trying to force this down Governor Scott's throat. He's killed the project, but we're not going to let it die. Dangle, 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 dangle. Try to sweeten the pot. Get him to take the bait. Otherwise, we're going to send the money to another state. So that's where we are, and that's why I believe we may actually have a ruling on this tomorrow, just because there's so much pressure being brought to bear with the deadline looming for those funds to go elsewhere. Although I would not be at all surprised if Nelson and company are able to put enough pressure on LaHood and the Obama regime to give them another extension, because the Obama administration really would like the test for their high-speed rail national network that they envision. God knows where they're going to come up with the money for that. Well, I guess you just print it in the basement of the White House. I'm sorry. I don't even know why I asked that question. That's how we do that now. And they want the test to be the Orlando to Tampa run on high-speed rail. Well, Rick Scott, as this courtroom drama began to unfold yesterday, he was in New York, and he was saying on a television station, actually on CNBC nationally on the Business Network, that he is still not been convinced that there is any way backers of the train can build it without the state somehow being involved. Quote Scott, "They've not shown me anything that leads me to believe that we're not still on the hook." All right? But nevertheless, Republican Senator Thad Altman from the Melbourne area, Viera, and Athenia Joyner, Democrat senator from Tampa, hit the Supreme Court with their lawsuit yesterday, and the governor responded to it. Now, Altman and Joyner asked the state's high court to block the governor's decision to scuttle a state plan to build the high-speed rail line between Orlando and Tampa. The two senators argued the governor does not have the legal authority to unilaterally reject the money because the legislature's already appropriated some of it, which was signed off on by Scott's predecessor, Charlie Crist, as we know. Now, Rick Scott's people, his lawyers, struck back yesterday in their legal response, saying that the two lawmakers filed the suit simply because their policy view had not prevailed. Yeah, they're pro-high-speed rail. That's it. You know, and I think that they are completely trying to abridge the separation of powers. Rick Scott also essentially told the Supreme Court that this is not where they should be, that they don't have a role here. Scott's lawyers wrote in their brief, Governor Scott has announced repeatedly and in no uncertain terms his determination that the high-speed rail project is not wise policy, that it will ultimately prove detrimental to the taxpayers of this state. This is a decision by virtue of his election and his constitutional authority that the governor is entitled to make, and I think they're right, and I think they will prevail. Good Lord, I hope they do. Scott's lawyers also contended that for the court to side with Altman and Viera, the justices would have to order the legislature to specifically appropriate the remaining funds and order the governor not to veto the legislation. And it would, their brief contends, and I think they're right on this again, render the separation of powers doctrine utterly meaningless. Utterly meaningless. The judiciary forcing a change in the relationship between the executive and the legislative. So Altman and Joyner's lawyers, they have a lawyer actually, contend that the governor, in rejecting the money, is essentially violating the separation of powers. Joyner said that he's acting like a king and overriding the legislature's wishes. In the present case, the legislature expressly set forth in the Florida Rail Act the public policy of this state regarding high-speed rail. Scott has, they say, by his own admission in his response, admitted that he does not intend to comply with the procedures and the directives of the Florida Rail Act. So there you go. Now, what about Senate President Mike Herodopoulos? He says he used to be for rail. Of course, I used to be for rail when we actually had money. Herodopoulos is against rail now. Said in a statement following the filing of the lawsuit that the full Senate would not join the lawsuit, and reiterated his concerns with the cost of the train. He's also said that he's going to make sure that that they're not going to fund it through the state Senate. So everybody's drawn their lines in the sand. And Bill Nelson wants to get as much time as he can from Transportation Secretary Ray LaHood of the Obama regime to try and get a resolution in his favor and the pro-rail forces and force the sitting governor of this state to take a deal he has concluded is fundamentally wrong for the state of Florida and is going to cost this state and its people money that we and it cannot afford. This is incredible. This is incredible. So where are you on this? You've watched all of this drama unfold. I see knees buckling. I see people who are saying, you know, maybe there is a way we can do this thing, this high-speed rail thing. They're saying now that we're not going to be on the hook for the $2.4 billion. They said in a letter from Washington we won't have to give the money back if all of a sudden the train doesn't work and they stop running it. Gee, maybe we really ought to do this thing. Maybe Rick Scott's just too ideologically dug in here. How about you? 407-916-5400. I'm still standing up against this money-sucking boondoggle, and Rick Scott, you stand tall as well. 407-916-5400, 712, real-time traffic and weather together on the twos. Hey, Bright House Networks Business Solutions can save you some serious money. Listen up and get on this today. It's your money for your business. Here's the key. The big savings through Bright House Networks kick in when you bundle your business phone service with your business broadband internet. And in the bargain, you take full advantage of faster downloads. You get business broadband internet speeds up to an incredible 50 megabytes for every type of business need. You need to bundle with Bright House for your business savings. Call 1-877-632-2337. That's 1-877-632-2337. Check them online for more. It's brighthouse.com/business.